Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Cassandra Mack, founder of CassandраMackMinistries.com and author of the Self-Love Workbook and Guided Journal titled Because You're Worth It. You can find it on Amazon along with my other books. The link to my books is in the video description box. This video was being done by request. A woman named Tabitha from London, UK writes in and asks the question, how do you deal with sarcastic people without allowing them to unnerve you emotionally or insult your intelligence? And so, Tabitha, we're going to dive right in. Since your question is the inspiration for today's video, you're going to get one of my mugs. So you're going to get the mug that says unbothered, unruffled, undeterred, the one that is featured in the thumbnail of this video. And for those who are interested in the mug, it is available at my Teespring shop. You'll see the Teespring link also in the video description box. So I want to share 6 ways to deal with sarcastic people without allowing them to rattle you emotionally or insult your intelligence. And I want us to start by just defining sarcasm, or better yet, let's just look at some synonyms for sarcasm. And so sarcasm is mockery. It is disdain. It is a form of scorn. And it is important, right, to start out with some synonyms, and let's also define it. So sarcasm is also defined as the use of words usually used to either mock or annoy someone or for humorous purposes. Sarcasm may employ ambivalence, although it is not necessary. And so I gave you a definition, and this definition comes from Wikipedia. And I also gave you some synonyms for sarcasm: mockery, disdain, scorn. This is important because when you are dealing with an individual who resorts to sarcasm, right, and they try to feign ignorance as if they have no idea what they're doing, or they say things like, I'm just a sarcastic person, it is important to understand that that person, whether they're aware of it or whether they're not aware of it, they are engaging in a form of mockery communication, in a form of communication that is fueled by disdain or scorn, even if they don't see it this way. And so just because a person doesn't see their behavior in a clear way does not absolve them from accountability of the behavior. It is like dealing with a person who is physically abusive. And so if you have someone, or you're in a relationship with someone who physically hits you, but yet they turn around and say, I am not abusive, just because they turn around and say, I am not abusive, or I am not aware that a slap in the face is abuse, does not change the meaning of abuse. And so this is important because people will make you crazy when they try to evade responsibility, whether it is evading responsibility intentionally or whether they are truly not aware. It does not change the outcome. This is important. Intention does not change the outcome. And so there is a difference between intention and outcome. And so often when you are on the receiving end of a person's behavior that affects you negatively, right, that hurts you, oftentimes they will want to focus on their intent. It was not my intent to hurt you. I didn't mean to hurt you. And that may be true. You can't read anyone's mind. But what is even truer, the higher reality that you need to operate from, is the effect that it has on you, because you can't measure your life by someone's intentions, but you can measure the outcomes of your life based on the effects that their behavior has on you. And so here's a clear, crystal example. So you cannot measure the intent of physical abuse in terms of knowing what's in that person's mind. But if you have a black eye, or if you have a red mark on your face because of a slap, you can clearly see the outcome of their behavior, regardless of what they try to convince you the intent was. And so this is where a lot of people who are good-hearted, good-natured, get themselves into trouble because they are focusing on intent when the focus needs to be what is the outcome. Because if somebody puts you in the hospital, whether they mean to or not, it doesn't change the fact that you laying in that hospital bed fighting for your life. It doesn't change that. That is the outcome. And so similarly, when somebody uses words that have a very hurtful effect and they do it over and over again, and especially if you point out the behavior, because once you say something along the lines of what you said to me was offensive, or what you said to me hurt my feelings, or what you said to me, and you can fill in the blanks however you normally speak to the people in your life. But the key is, once you have communicated that what that person is doing is hurtful or disrespectful, or it crosses a boundary, and they continue to do it, and they continue to say it's not my intent, but the behavior is not changing, then at that point you have a decision to make. You have a decision to make. And even the person who resorts to the harmful behavior, and they might feel the other person is overly sensitive, then it still comes down to the fact that you're not a match. That person is not a match for your personality. So no matter how you slice it or dice it, it comes down to it's not the right fit for either one of you. And when we become that clear and leave no wiggle room for ambiguity, it becomes increasingly difficult for people to manipulate you, or to feign ignorance, or to put their issues on you. And so even if they are struggling with a particular issue, and that may be true, it may be true, you get to decide if you want to do life with that person given that issue. That is a choice that you get to make. As believers, we are called to walk in love. We are called to love thy neighbor, but we are not called to enable thy neighbor. We are not called to be a doormat for thy neighbor. We are not called to permit thy neighbor to abuse our soul. And so when we make those distinctions, it becomes easier to understand that you can develop the fruit of patience. We are supposed to develop the fruit of patience with people, but there is a difference between patience and enabling. And so with that out of the way, let's look at some ways that you can deal with a person who resorts to sarcasm without allowing them to rattle you emotionally or insult your intelligence by feigning ignorance, or pretending that they're not aware that those words are hurtful. And sometimes, let me also say, you'll have a person that will say, well, that's just me. That's the way that I am. But here's the thing about your life as an adult. Even if that's true, let's say it's true, that that's just their personality type. And in their opinion, in their mind's eye, they don't believe that they are trying to hurt anyone. They feel that they're coming from a good place, and that's just their personality type. You still get to decide whether or not you want that in your life as an adult. That is your decision. You don't have to accept everything that comes into your life. Walking in love is not the same thing as having somebody in your personal space and being in constant relationship with them. You get to choose that. So there are a couple of things that you can do if you're dealing with a sarcastic person. Number one, distinguish the content of the message from the tone of the message. And this is key, because oftentimes the tone of the message, when a person is resorting to sarcasm, they may try to hide behind humor or try to say that they are only joking. And so the way that you counteract that is you take the joke off the table and simply deal with the content of the message, not the tone in which the message was delivered. And so let's say if somebody said, you are so fat, and they try to pretend they are joking. And let's say in their mind's eye, for argument's sake, let's say that they really believe that they're joking, and that's just how they play with people. You still get to decide whether you want to entertain somebody who plays like that. That is a choice that you get to make. And even if the other person feels you are super sensitive, so be it. Then the two of you are not the right fit for one another. And you get to decide this. And so distinguish the content of the message from the tone of the message. So the content are the words, you are fat. That is the content, independent of the tone, whether it was meant as a joke, however it was meant, that's the content of the message. Because when you focus on content, You can frame your conversation from content, and it eliminates any arguments about what their intent was, because intent doesn't matter. The outcome was they said to you, you are so fat, or you are so disgusting, but whatever the thing is that they said that really hurt your feelings. And so distinguish content from the message, because it leaves no room for you to be gaslighted. It leaves no room for someone to insult your intelligence, because while they want to focus on intent, you take intent off the table and you just focus on content. There's no room for gaslighting. Now, I do want to say that as I'm sharing these tactics, understand that people will get angry with you. So I don't want you going into these conversations naive. When you're communicating at this level of straightforwardness and unwavering clarity, where it leaves no wiggle room to be gaslighted, people will be angry and you might get some really nasty responses. So I don't want you being naive going into a conversation focusing on content, and then you're shocked when a person becomes very nasty with you and say, well, you're so sensitive and that's what everybody says and that's why nobody likes you. That is simply a ploy to get you to drop the subject and to get you to be responsible for something that you are not responsible for. And so when that happens, you do not take the bait. You simply reiterate the content. And so let's say, for example, you say, that was not nice to say that I'm fat. Oh, I'm joking. You're so sensitive. And it's not like, it's not like you can't miss a meal, and it's not like you didn't gain a lot of weight. Everybody says it. Even you say it. So let's say they say that. Don't get into, well, how do you know everybody says it? Don't open the door to that, because those are all ploys to introduce other things that have nothing to do with the content of the statement they made in that moment. That is your only focus. You need to be like a freight train in terms of clarity of focus, so that nothing else, no matter what else is interjected, you are not going to divert from anything other than the content of the message. It doesn't matter what else they introduce. Everybody says you're so sensitive, and that's why nobody wants to be your friend. Don't engage. Simply focus on the content, and you bring the conversation back to the content. What I'm talking about with you today is the fact that you said to me A, B, C, D, and then insert what they said. We're not talking about A, B, and C, D. Yeah, well, that's just why everybody, just pause, let them get it all out. Let them go for broke. And say again, what I'm talking about, and you're like a broken record. You keep repeating what it is that you are stating in terms of the content you heard. Now, let me also say this. You have to also decide, this probably should have been number one, if it's even worth the conversation. And so some things are meant to ignore. And there are some people where you just have to make a decision. You know what? This person is who they are. I don't want this in my life, so I'm going to maintain some distance, whether I do that physically or whether I do that mentally by not internalizing the things they say. If I can't do it physically, if I'm able to do it physically, then I need to maintain low contact or possibly no contact, depending on the severity of the verbal insults. And so that's the first decision, even before distinguishing content of the message from the tone of the message, because there are some things that are just not worth your time, and it's not worth your energy to even have a conversation about. So if you know that you are dealing with a toxic person and you already made up your mind, I don't want this person in my life because I have goals, purposes, and things that I need to do, and I don't want to engage in this, then you don't need to use any of these. You simply maintain your distance. But if you're in a situation where you feel that you need to respond rather than react, then you can use these tips. 2, respond with the opposite of sarcasm. So when a person is being sarcastic with you, they are expecting, in most cases, one of two things: for you to be sarcastic or exchange an insult back, or for you to be visibly emotionally rattled. Don't do either of those things. Respond with the opposite of sarcasm, which is straightforwardness. And don't just be straightforward, be straightforward without wavering one iota. And so let's say the person says to you, that's why everybody hates you, whatever it is that they say to you. They say something, or oh boy, you're on boyfriend number 3, you just can't keep a man. Whatever it is that they say, think of the worst case thing that a person who is sarcastic says to you and insert that there, since I am not you and I don't know the things that are being said to you. And so when that happens, rather than exchanging blows with them and exchanging, meaning verbal insults, be straightforward. Respond with the opposite of sarcasm. And so that goes back to the content of the message. And so be straight up. It seems to me that you are attacking my ... And then you'll fill in the blanks. It seems to me that you are taking a verbal jab at my relationship choices, which are none of your concern. It seems to me that you are taking a verbal jab at my work ethic, which is none of your concern, unless it's your supervisor, then it's your supervisor's concern. So if it's your supervisor, you may rephrase that a little bit. It seems to me that what you're saying is designed to hurt my confidence. And I can't see how a comment about how I am the dumbest employee you've ever worked with is going to motivate me to bring out the best in me. Can you shed some light on how that's designed to motivate me? Now, people are not going to like this because it's so straightforward that it gives no wiggle room to gaslight you. It gives no wiggle room to deny your reality, because remember, going back to the first point, you're focusing on the content of the message rather than the tone, because a person can always deny intent. I didn't mean to hurt you, but what they can't deny are the actual words that they use. And so this is why I want you to focus on content and not intent. Well, I know you're trying to hurt me, and I know you're trying to do. No, you're over imagining it. Oh, you're so sensitive. Oh, you're so egotistical where everything's about you. Leave no room for that. Just focus on content. 3. Now this builds on 1 and 2, but this is the specific strategy. So you're going to repeat the exact phrase that was said to you, but you're going to do it in a calm manner. And you're going to follow up with a probing question. Probing questions are questions designed to gain clarification and get the other person to tell you more information about a statement they made to you. This is really a helpful technique when a person is trying to insult your intelligence or gaslight you, because by asking a probing question, but doing so with calmness and only focusing on content, not I know you're trying to hurt me, I know, just exactly what they did. By asking probing questions, it allows you to dig deeper, and it provides a fuller picture, which of course the other person does not want. Because the thing about sarcasm is it's a way to be able to hide disdain for you or mockery or scorn behind humor, behind negative, toxic humor. And so by exposing it, by shining a light on it, right? So when you repeat the phrase that was said to you in a calm manner, emotional control, guarding your heart, and following up with probing questions, well, I'm curious as to why you would say something like that. You're not making any assumptions. You're saying, I'm curious as to why you would say something like that. It forces them. One of two things are going to happen. They're going to get upset with you, and they're going to respond in a nasty way. But even if that happens, it still gives you a clear answer. It gives you a clear answer, and the clear answer is they don't want to deal with their own behavior. So either way, there is no wiggle room to deny your reality. And even if they verbally try to deny your reality, you know what happened. You know what happened, and their reaction confirms it. So there's really no wiggle room. But again, I have to keep saying this. You have to know the kind of people you're dealing with, because when you're using this level of communication, people will respond in some very nasty ways, because you are shining a light. It's like shining a light on a demon. They don't want it. And so you repeat the phrase, whatever the thing is that was said to you, and then you're going to do what I call inserting the given, and then you're going to ask for clarity, right? So here's how it sounds. The person says something sarcastic to you, and you're going to restate what it is they said to you, word for word, as verbatim as possible, But then this is what you're going to add to it. You're going to pause and you're going to add one of these two phrases. That's odd, or that's interesting. That's it. That's odd, or that's interesting. That's all you're going to say before you say the next thing I'm going to tell you to say. That's odd, or that's interesting, and then pause, maybe like 10 seconds. Now, the reason why you're using that's odd or that's interesting is because you don't know their motive, right? And they can always deny motive, but they can't deny content, what they said. And so what they said, if they're resorting to sarcasm, it is either odd or interesting. And so it's either strange that they would make a statement like that because it's inappropriate, or it's interesting that they would resort to mockery in the setting that you're in, whether this is a family member, whether this is a friend, whether this is someone at work. And so by saying that's odd or that's interesting, you're not attaching a lot of meaning to it, but you are letting them know I'm on to you without revealing how it makes you feel. Now, let me tell you why I'm a proponent of this. Oftentimes you will hear people say that you should say, when you say A, it hurts my feelings. And in some cases, if you are dealing with someone who loves you and who cares about you and who doesn't want to hurt you, then of course you want them to know that they have hurt your feelings, because the goal is to come back together as a couple. If you're in a relationship with this person, to strengthen the bond as friends. If somebody says something out of anger, if it's a parent-child relationship, depending on the relationship, friendship. But if someone is trying to hurt you and hurt your self-esteem and your confidence repeatedly, they already know that it hurts you. That's why they're doing it. It's a form of mockery. It's a form of disdain. They are trying to hurt you. So you don't need to state the obvious, and you don't want to even give them the power to see the smirk on their face that they got to you. So that is why I'm not a proponent of always showing your hand. And actually, the Bible tells us to guard our heart. And we're going to get to that scripture in a little bit, and why that scripture is important when you are dealing with someone who is trying to insult you with a smile. So you want to say that's odd or that's interesting, right? That's an odd or interesting thing to say to me. And then you're going to repeat what they said. That's odd that you would say ... or that's interesting that you would say ... And you got to work on the calm, even if it means counting to 10 in your head and breathing. And then what you're going to do is insert the given. The given means, what are the givens of the dynamic of that relationship? So let's put it together. That's odd that you would make a comment about my weight, given that we're in a workplace setting, and that's not an appropriate thing to say at the workplace. Get it? And just pause. Pause another 10 seconds. Let them squirm a little bit. Then you're going to ask for clarity. So there are 3 parts. That's odd or that's interesting. Now, why is it odd? Let's so you know what you're doing. It's odd that they would make a comment about your weight or a comment about your looks or your outfit in a workplace setting. The reason it is odd is because it does not fit with appropriate behavior at the workplace. And if it continues, it could be a form of harassment. And so it is odd that they would resort to harassing behavior where there are consequences. You're going to be as cool as a cucumber on a hot summer day. Cool as a cucumber. So that's odd or that's interesting that you would make a comment about. It's interesting that you would make a comment about my love life, given that we don't have that type of relationship where we talk about our private matters with one another. That's interesting that you would take it upon yourself to talk about that, given that we don't have that type of relationship. Given that our relationship is nothing more than professional, that's a really odd thing. Can you tell me why? Can you clarify for me why you would take it upon yourself to comment on my relationship in a workplace setting, given the fact that we are co-workers and we are not friends? I'm a little unclear. Can you shed some light? They're not going to like this. They're not going to like this. And then let the uncomfortable silence fill the space. And even if they get nasty, remember, your stance doesn't change. You focus on the content. Do not divert your attention from anything other than the content. Well, you just so sensitive and I'm just joking and you take everything the wrong way. Let them get it all out. I see. Well, what do you see? What? I see. Yeah, again, that's really not answering the question. I'm a little unclear as to why you would take it upon yourself to say and then insert whatever it is that they said, given the fact that, and then insert whatever the givens are, given the fact that I've always been supportive of you, given the fact that our relationship is strictly professional and we don't discuss our personal lives, given that that is not an appropriate conversation to have in a workplace setting, given that, and then insert whatever the givens are. And so you're going to ask for clarification, and you can ask for clarification twice and then drop it. Because the fact that you have used this technique puts them on notice that you are aware of their behavior, and that anytime they try to insult you with a smile or they try to use sarcasm to mock you, that you are going to hold them accountable without wavering. Not only are you not going to waver, you are not going to be emotionally rattled by their comments, no matter how low of a blow of a comment it is. Well, that's why your husband left you and never loved you. And that's why your wife left you and never loved you. This is a hard one. This is hard. Compose yourself in your own mind. Tell yourself what you need to tell yourself. I got this. I am in control in your own mind. That's interesting that you would make a comment about my ex-husband or my ex-wife, given that we are co-workers and this is a professional setting where that conversation doesn't even belong in a workplace setting. Can you clarify for me why you would think that would be appropriate here? And let the uncomfortable silence fill the room. And if they're nasty, let them get it all out. You be calm. Right. Yeah, again, what I'm asking, and you go back to the same question. No matter what they say, you go back to your original question, which focuses on the content, the statement that they made. And I'm saying work setting, but it doesn't matter. It can be any kind of setting. It could be a family member. It's odd that you would make a comment about my husband, given the fact that you and I don't really talk like that. Let's say it's your family member, it's a cousin. You and I don't really talk like that, and we see each other maybe twice a year, at Christmas and family gatherings. That's odd that you would say that. Can you help me understand why you believe that that's your business? Well, I'm just saying because somebody needs to say it. Somebody needs to say it because you done been around the block. Somebody needs to say it. Let him get it all out. I see. I see. What do you see? People get mad when you say I see. I see. Yeah, again, that doesn't really shed any light on why you believe that my ex-husband is your personal business. I'm a little unclear, and I'm unclear as to why you would bring this up at a Thanksgiving celebration where it's about family gathering and coming together to see one another, to enjoy one another, to bond. Can you help me understand why you would take an occasion where people are supposed to bond to bring up my divorce? I'm not really clear, and your response didn't give me any clarity. Now they may curse you out. People are going to lose it. So I don't want you doing these tactics, not being prepared for that. And so if they get nasty, it's okay, because it's still information, and it's letting the other person know that you are on to their behavior. You are setting a boundary to rattle you. And so even if the cousin's like, well, that's why we don't invite you nowhere, let it go. All right, well, I'm going to enjoy my time. It is what it is. And let me go help myself to the potato salad. You be blessed. Well, you be blessed. They're going to be mad. They're going to be mad. They're going to be mad. Because when a person is trying to rattle you emotionally, they want a reaction from you. And you're not giving it to them. And so essentially, this is what you're doing. You're sending the message no matter what you say to me and how low you try to come for me. Baby, you don't got the power to make me or break me. You don't have the power to make me or break me. You can't even penetrate my heart and my mind. That's how much power you don't have when it comes to my life. Now, you don't need to say that, but you're communicating that through these strategies. You don't make me or break me. Yeah, I see you. I see you. You don't make me or break me. And sometimes you got to let people know you don't make me or break me. You are not going to make me crazy. Next, make sure you're building up your confidence by affirming who you are at the core and affirming in your own mind that you have the right to set boundaries with people who behave inappropriately. You have the right to do that. You have the right to call people out on comments made to you that are inappropriate if you even feel it merits a conversation. Because as I said, you'll have to discern. Some things you just ignore because it's not even worth your time or attention. But there are times where you have to put someone in their place. So you're going to have to discern that. I can't discern that for you. So make sure that you're building up your confidence. The Bible says, do not throw away your confidence, for it has a rich reward. So make sure that you're not allowing this person to diminish your confidence. Don't throw away your confidence because this person is putting you down. And then lastly, do not repay evil for evil. Do not repay evil for evil. Romans 12:17 says, do not repay evil for evil. And so a lot of times when somebody is mocking you and they're saying insulting things but hiding behind a smile, and this is something that is chronic, it is a chronic pattern, it is easy to get into a space where you repay evil for evil and you're like, well, you want to talk about my ex-husband? Let's talk about the fact that don't even get into that space. Don't repay evil for evil. Do not repay evil for evil. You go about your purpose. You got too much going on. Because if someone is constantly coming at you with nastiness, there's something about your light that gets under their skin. So you keep focusing on the things that God has called you to do. What are your goals? What are your dreams? You don't even want to invest your precious resource of time and energy of thinking up sarcastic things to say in return to that person. Remember, you counteract sarcasm with straight up straightforwardness, leaving no wiggle room for someone to insult your intelligence or gaslight you. And once you say what you got to say and they keep rattling off at the mouth, let them be who they are and you focus on your purpose. You made your point when you called them out. You don't have to get into an argument about it. Use the tactics, make your point, and let it be. Let people be miserable by their doggone self. They want to be miserable. Don't let them pull you into their misery. So don't repay evil for evil. Instead, focus on the good things that God has blessed you with. Focus on the good things in your life. Focus on your goals, the things that you want to do. Romans 12:19, I want to give you one more scripture. It says, do not take revenge, my dear friends, but leave room for God's wrath. For it is written, it is mine to avenge. I will repay, says the Lord. So you don't have to do anything. When you're dealing with someone that's constantly coming at you with insults, trying to verbally beat you down, yes, you can set the boundary using the tactics that we talked about. But once you set the boundary and you have made it clear that you are aware of their behavior and you will not allow them to gaslight you or insult your intelligence, there's nothing more for you to do. Let it be. Let them be who they are. They want to be miserable and sarcastic. Let them stay in that space by themselves where you stay in your space of peace. You stay in your space of doing the things that you feel called to do. And then the other scripture I wanted to share is the importance of guarding your heart. And that's Proverbs 4:23. And it says, above all else, I want to read you the New International Version. It says, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. And so we got to guard our heart, right? Our heart represents our feelings. It's not guarding the physical organ of the heart, but but it is guarding our emotions, guarding our triggers, the things that trigger us, that get under our skin. We have to know what those things are. We need to be self-aware if we're going to be emotionally healthy. And so you got to guard your heart, because everything you do flows from it. And so if somebody says something sarcastic that is already a triggering area for you, and it strikes a chord in you, and you're now responding at level 10 and you've lost it, they've won. But when you guard your heart, even when they come for your triggered areas, you can already discern they are coming at an area that I'm sensitive about, so that they can berate my self-esteem. I'm not going to give them the power to make me or break me. So I am going to guard my heart by being aware of my emotional responses and choosing to respond when appropriate, rather than react from a place of intense, unadulterated emotion. And so those are some scriptures that are helpful when it comes to dealing with people who use sarcasm to push your buttons and get your goat. Know that you are not at the mercy of somebody's sarcastic comments. You have the power to guard your heart. And so with that being said, I hope you found today's video helpful, today's audio video helpful. Have an amazing day. You hold your head up, and don't give anyone the power to make you or break you with their words. With that being said, have an amazing day, everybody. And if you want a little help in that area, if you know that you struggle, you may want to take 40 days out to do my soul fast. I have a book. It's called the Soul Fast Workbook. And it is a detox for the soul. Just how we detox our body, like the lemonade diet or the master cleanse, for the people that are familiar with the master cleanse. The Soul Fast Workbook is a master cleanse for the mind. And it helps you to take out 40 days. It's broken up into 4 parts, which consist of 10-day increments. So part 1, you take 10 days to detox the mind. Part 2, you take another 10 days to detox the emotions and make sure that you are ridding yourself of emotions I want to say it this way, that you're ridding yourself of emotional triggers, because you don't really rid the emotions, but you're ridding yourself of emotional triggers that can cause you to react in ways that don't serve you well. So you take another 10 days to do that. And then there's another 10 days, because it's 40 days in total. So far that's 20 days. Then you take another 10 days to detox from toxic choices. And you're assessing, am I choosing life or am I choosing death by the things that I respond to? And you're really assessing the kind of choices you're making to assess whether or not they are serving your mental well-being, your emotional well-being, and they're serving your purpose. And then the last 10 days, which is day 31 through 40, you take out 10 days to assess the people whom you spend the most time with. And you begin to ask yourself, do I need to detox from this person? And sometimes you can't do it physically, if it is a person who you may share a cubicle with at work, but you can detox from their negative antics. You can be more mindful of the ways that they come at you to bring you down, and choose to detox from engaging in the negativity with them. And so it's the Soul Fast Workbook. And it is a process of being committed for 40 days. Some people choose to break it up and they focus on one section at a time. So you might not want to do all 40 days. You may decide, you know what, I'm just going to take 10 days to detox my mind, to get myself in a better frame of mind and a clear headspace, and to really evaluate my mindset. And then you may put it down for a while. You may come back to it 2 or 3 months down the road and say, you know what, let me do the emotional piece now. Let me take 10 days to really assess whether or not I'm guarding my heart, whether or not, I am in an emotionally healthy space. Let me take 10 days to assess that. Then you may put it down for a couple of months, pick it up, and you may decide to do the choices piece. So you don't have to do all 40 days in a row if it feels overwhelming for you. You can, as I said, it's divided into 4 parts. So you can do one part at a time at the pace that you're comfortable doing, for those who may be interested and need assistance in that area. And so with that being said, again, have an amazing day. Take care of yourselves and each other. Thank you so much for your support of this channel. Thank you for being part of this community. If you want to worship with us on Sundays, we have church by phone every Sunday at 9 a.m. The info is in the video description box. And every Wednesday, we do a Wednesday wellness call. This Wednesday, we're talking about guarding your heart, the scripture in Proverbs 4:23, but specifically we're talking about 3 specific ways that guarding your heart helps you to be an emotionally healthy person. So we're talking about 3 specific benefits that come with guarding your heart. So if that's something that you want to come to, that's happening Wednesday, tomorrow, at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the information as far as the phone number and the access code, all of that is in the video description box. You just got to comb through the links. So have a great day. Bye-bye.